a generally accessible article, so you can just read the first paragraph and know what the story is about, and then go into the specifics. And this is something I face sometimes as well. Is when you have lots of sources and you want to share all of them, sometimes you put the story in a kind of a chronological or a logical type of order of exhibits or arguments that you have to make, and the conclusion might be at the end, it might be somewhere in the middle, and there might not be a conclusion. The summary of the article might also be something like, motion from SCO, and that's like the article, and then you go through that and just see the news. It doesn't actually try to put an actual conclusion or an actual story at the top. Especially in Rockwell, you usually will see some very vague title that's not really saying anything in a sensationalist way. It just kind of tells you what it is, what's contained inside. And she organizes an index of all the articles. It's supposed to be more of an archival tool regarding a certain case. And mostly, if you think of it as a news site, I think it's more of an exploration or an experiment in how to manage a site using a community of people, using court material, then actually parsing through the court material, sending people to court to pick up some transcripts and things like that, and organize this in a communal fashion. I mean, it really is quite a revolutionary thing that she did there, and a lot of people consider it better than most sites.
So I think what doesn't really, I mean, it does, it's natural, but it kind of abstracts a little bit on the easy accessibility thing, is Pamela speaks legalese. So when I know she does try to explain things in a little bit more of a regular Joe type of a way, but a lot of it is legalese that she can't alter. I mean, and I just don't understand motion to dispel or motion to do whatever. And I'm reading the arguments and I'm going, hang on a minute, that looks like they are trying to go one way, but it's not. It's just the way the legal system works. And I don't speak legalese, so that's why the sentences, it may as well be in German. For some of the words, I mean, I understand most of the words, and then it gets to a little legalese section, and those sections may as well be German for all I understand them. And it's an abstraction thing that kind of takes you out of that. That does make it very hard to read and hard to understand
I think
what's actually being said, I mean, she understands it, and the courts understand it, all the lawyers, all the people involved understand it. Just for someone who doesn't speak legalese, you're left sort of scratching your head going, what does that really mean?
I mean, I think it's fair to say that Pamela's site requires prior knowledge, and not one of these sites where no previous experience is required. Having said that, I mean, like you say, Gordon, running a blog, and I'm sure Roy agrees, and running a site, the amount of work that just goes into one article when you have free reign of any topic you want to talk about is incredible. I don't think, until you've done it yourself, I don't think many people appreciate how much work goes into it, because of course you can't print anything, because if you just write anything without thinking and without considering what you're putting, you'll find that your reader base goes down very, very quickly, and then it's a complete waste of everybody's time. I think Gordon made a comment before about if you expect people to give up their time to read your article, you've got to put effort into it and make it interesting, make it newsworthy. So there's that.
Well, it's not just the legalese as well. In Pamela's case, it's the knowledge of the various jurisdictions as well. Like a court case in America, and they've got 50 different states. So there's federal jurisdiction, and then there's local jurisdiction. There's different rounds of courts, Supreme Court and various other courts, and this court case has said such and such, and it's not set a precedent, and they're suing in this state for this, that, and the next thing, and then there's legal action being taken out in Indonesia or Germany or Australia or something, and it's all these different court systems and jurisdictions, and you're like, I don't understand that, because when you read something and it says, well, Company X they've basically been handed a heavy defeat in such and such a judgment, and then you get other statements, and they're appealing, and it's like, how many appeals do these people have? It's almost like infinite lives in a computer game. So you die umpteen thousand times, and it doesn't matter how many times you die, you're like, I'll just appeal.
Yeah.
until you run out of money. And it's not like that. They go through a certain process, moving from one court to another, and one judge overruling the rulings of another judge, and then you've got all the sort of political sides to it of different in America with or a Republican appointed judge as such and such, and a Democrat appointed judge, and it's just I don't understand all that system, and then all the various amendment constitution rules and all of that. So I think there's a sort of very American centric, which is understandable, side to her site, and then there's the whole sort of fore understanding of the way that all the courts are all set up and stuff.
Well, I do hope she keeps her interest in having an online presence, regardless of what Pamela decides to do in the future. She said that her last article.
Well, without Grocklaw, there is no Pamela, because she never would post anything outside of Grocklaw since around at least 2006. And the reason she did that is because she had fakes and she was being harassed outside her own site. So the explanation she gave before is that if she's doing anything outside Grocklaw, or she claims to be, and I saw people leaving comments as PJ, which just says PJ, it doesn't say Pamela or something. But what she says is if she's going to do anything outside the site, she will have to announce it in Grocklaw that she's doing that.
No, yeah, I mean, I was meaning maybe another site altogether of her own. I would hope. She's certainly established herself as a name within the tech community. That can be never held in doubt.
That sort of assumes she'll have second thoughts about, because usually, well, I feel kind of strange here, because it's like, she likes privacy, and then we talk about the person as a personal life. But sometimes these people, if they do something for many years, it's kind of hard to get out of the habit. And maybe I really hope she goes back to doing things, because we do need her to do the legal analysis. You mentioned how hard and inaccessible this stuff is, but you have to remember that you have some people who are experts in these fields, and they use her analysis to make sense of cases which otherwise would rely on things like IDG or Wall Street Journal, Murdoch or whatever, to give them, the news, or speaking to companies like Novell and Sco and asking them, what's going on in the case? Well, you might as well ask a lawyer.
I think that's the key there, is that people like me are not really her target audience. It's other lawyers who are her target audience. As much as she does try to make it a bit easier to sort of understand what's going on, we're not a target. But I am not a target audience anyway. So
a definition of how she runs the site, and she's been saying it continuously in sites. This is supposed to be a place where geeks and lawyers kind of meet together and sort of discuss the issues, especially with regard to the SCO case. So this is supposed to be a case where people are very familiar with the history of Unix and Linux and everything else. People are not necessarily just advocates of Linux, or they don't really tend to cover this, especially not in recent years. I think at some point she stopped covering a lot of the Linux advocacy. She concentrated on legal aspects and things like that. This is what they're supposed to count, the people who are knowledgeable with Unix, and lots of them Linux administrators since like the 90s or whatever. And the other part is the lawyers, and they are supposed to discuss among themselves what's applicable to U.S. law and what is true based on what they know about Unix. Because these people, one side doesn't know how to do scripts or how to read source code, and one side is very good with how to run the case. And they're supposed to establish it, to unify a certain view on how to interpret the case. And they do that, and they give you a lot of opinions, a lot of ideas for the observer from the outside to look at what the experts basically say about the case.
Well, shall we move on to the next topic? Roy, or Gordon, have you got another subject that you would like to bring up for this for the show?
Well, I mean, one that caught my eye again, it's TechDytes. Shameless at going through their stuff and getting stuff from them. This is a TechDytes article this is something I've said for a long time, and this is various sites have pointed out in different ways, and they've got a post called "If you're arguing that someone deserves copyright, your argument is wrong." And the whole point is you've got people who are some way involved in creating content, or funding the creation of, and by content we're talking about music, movies, books, that type of thing. And they insist that, people, I demand to make a living off this. Well, no chance, basically.